All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is another one of our virtual career spotlights that we've been doing this year. Today, we are at the Brigadier Angle Armory, home of the British Columbia Dragoons. So we are in downtown Kelowna, and I'm sure many of you have driven by and seen the tanks. So we're going to basically take you on a tour today of the entire facility almost. Okay, and joining me today we have Captain Jeff Daly. Jeff is the operations officer here, and he's going to be leading the tour for us. Just a little note before we start. If you do click the full screen button, you sort of lose your ability to chat. So if you'd like to ask questions, don't click the full screen button in the bottom right, okay? And please ask questions as they come. We will try our best to relay them here to Jeff. And you can ask questions throughout the tour, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions that we can. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to let Captain Daly take it away. Where we go?
Hi.
Right,
hey, welcome everybody to Kelowna, to the home of the British Columbia Dragoons. We're spread all throughout the Okanagan Valley, but Brigadier Angle Armory, that gray and blue building with the two tanks out in front, you've all driven by and you thought it was actually a museum. No, it's not. This is where the Army lives and breathes here in Kelowna. The Dragoons were first formed in 1908, but in 1911 they kind of formed between all the valley and formed one unit. So what's really cool is that this unit, the BC Dragoons, is from the valley. All these people that went away back in the day, you know, World War I and World War II and Korea, probably lived on your street here in town or, you know, somewhere else in the valley. These are all people who were neighbors. The British Columbia Dragoons started out as a mounted unit, and what that means is we rode horses. They adopted cavalry tactics back during the war, and today we no longer use horses. Now we're in armored vehicles. So that's actually super cool if you think about it. And backing up just a little bit before the war, armored units actually used to be knights. So if you really think about it, the British Columbia Dragoons can trace our history back to knights. That's kind of cool. Okay, let's walk inside and I'll talk about what we got going on in there. What's interesting about the BCDs is that we've been involved in every conflict. So soldiers from the Okanagan have deployed to every war that Canada has fought. So when you first come into the building, this used to actually be an old schoolhouse, and I want to say this was the first schoolhouse in Kelowna. One of the other buildings out back, it's actually our gym now, used to be the stables. So that's where people would ride their horse to school, go park their horse in the stables, and then come into this old building. You're going to get to see in a second, because we kind of modified it into what we now call our drill hall. So we do physical fitness testing in here, and downstairs, I'm going to show you guys in a minute, we actually have what we call our small arms trainer, and it's an indoor range. Now we don't shoot live rounds here downstairs, we shoot laser beams, and I'll talk about that in a second. This is my recruiting office, so for a lot of people when they first come and visit the unit, if you're a civilian, this is where you first come. So this is my recruiter, Sergeant Joshua Tustin. You're going to get to talk to him in about 20-30 minutes from now when he meets us back outside. So one thing we're doing in the Okanagan is we're totally expanding. I talked outside about the British Columbia Dragoons and how we're mounted and we're armored reconnaissance. That's kind of what our job is now. One thing we're also doing is we're standing up another squadron. We're standing up a signal squadron. So not only will we be able to move on the ground and do our business of reconnaissance, these guys are going to help us then communicate what we find. So when we find bad guys, I got to be able to let the general know where they are. These guys are going to help us do that. So I'm going to pass you over to Corporal Kwan, and he's going to talk about some radios.
Hey guys, I'm Corporal Kwan from 39 Signal Regiment. We're based in 4 locations in Vancouver, Victoria, Nanaimo, and now Kelowna. Like the sir said, our primary duty is to facilitate communication. We do that by setting up communication networks, and we're going to show you some of the equipment we brought up here to do that. Over here, this is our 522 man-pack radio. It comes in 2 configurations. We can put it in a backpack, and we'll take it out for a patrol, or we can put it on an amplifier, boost up more than double its range, and attach it to a vehicle. Corporal Ross is now going to talk about some of our satellite capability.
Good day, everyone. I'm Corporal Ross, 39 Signal Regiment. A few of the things I'm going to bring to you, we start at a different form of communication here. Our bread and butter down at this end, and we work our way into a higher tech. On the table in front of us, a few tools that we use, very mobile, very simple little things. Just like what you guys have in your pocket, this is a sat phone. Does one thing only for us. We do voice communications. That's it. But we move into other technology. This little unit here, known as the BGAN, does 2 things for us here. A 15-minute setup, we can have this set up pretty much anywhere we need to have communications, data, any location, any weather. Very simple technology. We have our phone systems, we have internet, we can have everything going from the middle of a mountainside, middle of a desert, middle of the Antarctic, right back to headquarters in no time, 15-minute setup. And then with one of our new pieces of technology that we brought into the Reserve Force now, there's approximately about 11 of these in the country, brought up about 3 years ago. Now, it's known as a Gator. We've had a few fun names. We've called it the Death Star. We've called it the Beach Ball. But this is a great tool for us. We've actually used it and already had it deployed even as early as last summer during the forest fires. This system here, 2-man operation, 30 minutes, we have all the communications and data we need at any location. Pure example, last year, as we're all aware, British Columbia was on fire. Williams Lake, we needed communication, we needed data. Our guys up in Williams Lake took over an old abandoned school, and within 30 minutes, we had this mounted on top of our roof, and we wired that entire school in for communications and data, and that became our base, our headquarters. So it's another one of the tools that we use in our trade. Our day-to-day, we might be using something like this in the infantry, all the way to a natural disaster or even in a combat situation. We have these tools at our disposal. This tool here, I don't know if we can bring this in, you can see what it does. It's satellite. All 3 of these tools that I just showed you here are satellite capable.
We just had a question from Mr. Corkin's class.
Yeah.
Do you have dedicated military satellites, or are you using the same civilian ones?
Can we talk about that? We can't necessarily talk about that. I can give you probably more one-on-one, but we do have satellites that are at our disposal and our disposal only.
Okay, thank you.
All good? Any other questions? Perfect.
Right on. Really good question about the satellites. Obviously, maybe I should have given a disclaimer at the front of my intro. There will be some things we can't talk about, obviously for operational reasons. While all you guys get to see this video footage, as soon as you put it on the internet, it's out there for everybody, and Canada still has enemies in the world, and we don't want them to know all of our secrets. Okay, speaking of secrets, this is no secret, we use weapons, okay? So what I'm going to show you now is we're going to show you some of the personal weapons that we employ. So every soldier, when you first join, it makes sense. You got to learn how to shoot a weapon. So what we have on the table here are some of the weapons. These are real weapons that we use. Now, what are dummy, okay, is the grenade and the M72. Those are dummy. We simply use those for practice, and we use those to go through our drills. But in real life, right here on this table, they're not live. So you don't have to worry about, oh my God, there's live ammunition downtown Kelowna. That's not how we roll. We only use live ammunition when we go to the field, and that's strictly controlled for obvious reasons. Now, The weapons, though, are for real. These are real weapons. And I'll get Master Ingram, probably the oldest weapon we have in our stock right now is the 9mm Browning pistol. You hold it up.
Yep. So right here we got our 9mm Browning pistol. There is no magazine in here right now. So we'll start off from the left, I guess. We got our M67 hand grenade here. This is, like the sir said, this is a dummy. This ain't gonna go off in here. However, this is one of the most exciting things to do in the Army, in my opinion, is to throw grenades. Basic pull pin thing. You're usually gonna hold the spoon in your hand like this. So once you've done that, you're gonna pull the pin, chuck the grenade. Once you see it hit the ground, you're gonna get down, it's gonna go off. As the sir introduced, the Browning High Power, it is a 9mm, magazine fed from the bottom like most pistols. Next we have the C8. This is the C8 rifle, C8A2. It is magazine as well. So you have our 30-round magazine here. This one is outfitted with a hand grip. So we have our hand grip up here. We have a tri-glide up here. This is used for any sort of attachments like lasers, flashlights. This one does have one of the shorter barrels in the Army. C8 is known for it being short. It is the weapon we use for close quarter battle and within vehicles. I didn't mention this, but we got a C79A2. This is our sight here. You can't actually view the sight. Its reticle is glow in the dark, per se. So at nighttime you can see it in the dark. This goes up to roughly about 600 meters. Is a pretty good individual effective range. Not necessarily effective, but you can reach out that far. Next, moving on. Same idea, basically. This one's just a little longer. This one's used for mostly infantry. However, we in the armored world still do use the C7s. We prefer the C8s. But this is the weapon that's going to reach out a little bit farther than the C8, given its longer barrel. Same characteristics here. This is the C79A2, so it does have the collapsible buttstock, just like the C8. Tri-glide for accessories. This one's not fitted with a hand grip either, or correction, hand grip. But it is on the C8, so it can be ambidextrous. You can put on either weapon here. Same thing, magazine fed. Both weapons are 5.56. So in the civvy world, we like to call that 223 half the time. But these weapons do take 5.56. In a pinch, I guess they could be used for 223, but 5.56 is the NATO round that we do use. Moving on, we got the C9A2. This is a 5.56 belt-fed machine gun. It is fed from the left side, so we usually have a box attached to the bottom, and then the rounds will come out from an ammunition box, and we'll put it into the feed tray, close her up, cock it, and get it ready to go. The one cool thing about this, everybody's going to learn how to use the C9, okay? Everybody in the Army learns this weapon. This is one of the most fun weapons that I have used. No offense to the C8, but I do love shooting machine guns. This one can also be fed through a magazine here. So if your C9 gunner does run out of ammunition, not feasible, but they can use a magazine. So if you have a buddy beside you who has ammunition through his magazine, but you have no belt ammunition left, you can actually put the magazine into the C9 and rock it. It has a weapons or a sight rail up here, so you can fit it with a C79A2 weapon sight. However, we do not prefer, we prefer the iron sights. This is an area weapon. It is not designed specifically for accuracy. It is designed to suppress an enemy or of that sort. They do have exchangeable barrels, so after about 2 boxes of ammunition, you're going to want to change barrels because these things do get hot. Okay, they become red hot and they can burn your skin. That's why we wear gloves all the time. So they are interchangeables. They have a shorter barrel and they have a longer barrel. We mostly switch them because of the amount of rounds that we put down range. The barrels will get hot and they can actually mold into the weapon itself in threads. It'll screw up the threads. Same idea as well. The weapons the attachments on the C7s, you can also put the attachments on the C9 as well. Collapsible buttstock like this. Okay, moving on, we got the M72. This is actually what we call the NM72. So this is a dummy weapon. However, they do fire. This is a shoulder fire rocket. We use this on soft targets mainly. As reconnaissance soldiers, we do carry these as well as the infantry do, and other debts as well, and other trades. But for the most part, an armored soldier will carry this just in case stuff's going down. The one thing with this is it is a one-time use. So once you use this, you're throwing it away.
So you got to see some of the weapons that we carry. These, yeah, when you see us in the field, you never leave your weapon behind. Everywhere you go, you have your personal weapon with you, because obviously we have to be able to defend ourselves. So some of our toys. Okay, so these are our weapons, but in order to practice the weapons, we go down and we use what I mentioned earlier, the small arms trainer. So, or a SAT room, we call it for the short name. And basically it's a big screen with a laser. So let's go show you that, and we'll show you how we...
We'll just see if we have any questions.
Oh, good call. Questions.
So we have a question from Miss Atkinson's class. What is a soft target?
So a soft target is anything not covered by armor. Tanks have armored. You might see a Jeep with an armor package on it. An armored package could be steel or it could be ceramic. The technology that has gone into armor protection nowadays is phenomenal, where we're no longer making armor just out of steel, like our Kevlar vests that we wear and you see police wear. Those are Kevlar plates. Our helmets are Kevlar, which means it's not steel anymore. It's actually like a ceramic porcelain. And they layer it in such a way with all kinds of crazy chemicals in it that makes them bulletproof or kinetic energy proof. Because it's not, the science behind it is, it's not the piece of metal puncturing the other piece of metal, it's actually the kinetic energy that happens when it punctures it. So some of the science teachers in the class or some of the students will be like, kinetic energy, got it, right? But that's, the science behind it is amazing. And so just as the science to shoot people is amazing, the science to defend people is amazing. So, sorry, long answer for a short question. Armored are things that are bulletproof.
Okay. A question from Kerrigan, is it bad to still use steel?
For armor protection, no. Obviously the tanks still have steel. The tactical armored patrol vehicle you're going to see outside is steel. No, because just like the ceramics and the Kevlar, like my helmet and like my flak jacket, they're making steel different ways now as well, right? There's rolled homogeneous. So they actually create steel different ways. I mean, a good way to think about it is to think about the samurai swords, right? In the old days, they used to fold the steel on top of each other and make it super, super strong. Well, they can do that now with steel for vehicles. Cool. Okay, let's go see the SAT room.
Question from Colton as we're walking down.
Sure.
How do you eat in the field or in the line of duty?
Very quickly. When we go to the field, we eat what we call IMPs, or individual meal packages. And what it is it's a tinfoil bag with food inside that we can just heat up, and you eat it right out of there. Sometimes when you're on a foot patrol and you're in the bush and you're being really sneaky, you can't have a fire or anything because of thermal optics. Thermal sights can look anywhere and see you, right? So you want to keep your heat signature down as low as possible. So sometimes you'll have to eat the meal cold, or you just take it and put it in your armpit because that always makes it nice and warm.
Another question
Sure.
from Gigi. Does the food taste good?
You know, that's a really good question. It's funny, what they actually have nowadays is when we eat the food, if there's something we don't like, then they stop making it. In the old days, you used to get what you got. And I've been eating my plate of spaghetti in the rain, and basically you're eating like spaghetti soup. But the food has come so far. The food is actually really good. Sometimes my neighbors, or if I have a leftover ration, I'll bring it home and tell the wife I'm making her supper and feed her the ration, and then she doesn't even know the difference. Okay. So this is our small arms trainer. Basically what we do is we lay down here on the carpet and you shoot at the screen. Now that screen, I don't have it up right now, but we either have targets or the bullseye targets. And then what we use are these rifles that are hooked up to these tubes. And what it does is that pushes air into the chamber and makes the rifle work just like a normal rifle. So we lay down, you light your target, and you squeeze the trigger and you shoot. Now, what's fantastic about this system is it's shooting a laser. And of course, lasers are so precise that when we shoot, you bring up the next screen, and the screen shows you if you're jerking the weapon when you pull the trigger. Because if you jerk the weapon here, 1 inch of movement here, 100 meters down range, is making the bullet move a foot distance, right? So if you think about trajectories and how things work, you got to be as still as possible. It'll also tell you if you're breathing, you know, when you're pulling the trigger, or if you're canting the angle. So all kinds of science has gone into it to figure out how to make us a better shooter. Don't get me wrong, I make it sound like all we do is shoot guns and all that stuff. Our primary role, you know, is reconnaissance. And that means basically we're battlefield spies. And if you think about it, a good spy is somebody who's not shooting or exposing himself.
Question from Kerrigan. Is it easier to use the laser rather than the bullet?
Well, no. Why I say that is because while you're here, you're getting right down to the nitty-gritty of your trigger manipulation, of your breathing. You're squeezing the trigger. When you're actually shooting a bullet, or a round, we call it, you know, it just happens. It happens and it all comes together. Cool. So that's the small arms trainer. It looks like a dungeon, I know. So I mentioned that as an armored soldier, we can draw our lineage right back to the days of knights. If you think back to the days of knights, one thing you always saw was a knight on his horse with his big lance, right? Well, we don't use lances, obviously. I mean, nowadays, now we use guns or tanks, have the main gun. But one thing the knight also carried was always that great big flag. And the flag was used as a rallying point during conflict. Either he was charging into the enemy, or maybe he was in a defensive position. His soldiers would always rally around that flag. Well, we have the same thing, and that's called our guidon. Now, on our guidon are all of our battle honors. So now I'm going to give you a quick peek of our guidon. So this is the regimental guidon. This is the regiment's most prized treasure. On the guidon, we have a bunch of names here. And then on a cross belt down below, we have a bunch of names. These are all battle honors that the British Columbia Dragoons have won. If you see the bottom, you can see how it's a dovetail. That's because when you're riding on the horse and the guidon was flapping in the wind, with the dovetail, it keeps the flapping down, actually. So the British Columbia Dragoons have a total of 29 battle honors since it stood up. The most recent battle honor is the Afghanistan battle honor. This unit, during the Afghanistan conflict, sent enough troops away to fight in Afghanistan to actually earn the battle honor. So we actually don't have room on the guidon for that battle honor, so we put it onto our cross belt. That belt is worn, so the bearer of the guidon also wears the cross belt with the extra battle honors on it that won't fit onto this flag. Cool, so that's the guidon. I'm going to take you outside. I'm going to show you guys now, you know, I talked about shooting, we talked about being signalers. Something we got to do, obviously, as a soldier is maintain fitness. So we're going to go check out our gym. Now, there's different ways of doing fitness. I mean, obviously you can go to the gym and you can lift weights. Sometimes, if you're in Kelowna, you might see our guys marching around with our big rucksacks on. There's nothing like going for a 10K kilometer march with a 65-pound rucksack. You get blisters on the bottom of your feet pretty quick, but it is what it is. And it builds up, I guess, a core muscle. So when I talked about the old schoolhouse, I talked about the stables. Well, this used to be an old A-frame, and this is where they had come and park the horses. So the kids would go to school, and in the back here, they'd put the horses in here. Now, obviously, we use it for our gym. We'll come in here early on a Wednesday night, and we'll do some physical training in here, do a little bit of exercise before we do our parade night.
Captain Daly, this might actually lead into our next or our last question. What happens when you guys get bored? You can probably see right here what happens. Right?
Yeah. You either use the gym equipment, or you might have saw the ball hockey stuff on top there. Usually we'll try to rack out a little game of ball hockey over in the field house or over here in the compound. So we also use G-Wagons. That's our Mercedes Jeep. You see a whole bunch in a line here. I actually have a whole whack more up in Vernon. And what they have, it's kind of hard to tell, but you can see like a rack on the top. That's actually a hatch. What happens is we open up that hatch and we put a machine gun up there, and then we drive around the woods being all sneaky peeky and looking for bad guys. Going to take you upstairs now and show you where all the magic happens. That must be my office. I'm also going to show you the orderly room. It's kind of important because, you know, I've had people ask me before, what's it like being in the Army? I don't think people realize that when you got the uniform on, you're getting paid. So I have a whole office upstairs of clerks, and what they do is they do the human resource part of it, as well as they do the financial part. So these are the people who sort out your pay. So when you come to work, you got to get paid.
We have a couple of questions before we head up there.
Sure.
One question is from Miss Moraw's class is, where exactly is the armory located in Kelowna?
So we are located right on the corner of Lawrence and Richter. If you're downtown and you know where the Safeway is at the end of Bernard, if you're standing in that Safeway parking lot and you look across the road, you're going to see that big blue building where we started off. You're going to see the building with the tanks out in front of it.
Okay, another question from Karina. Are you and the Vernon camp connected?
Yeah, you know what? The camp, no. So that's an Army camp, not a cadet camp. That's an actual military camp. We do have a building up there. So if you're on the highway and you look over, not where the short buildings are, but you see a great big hangar, I'm actually looking at getting a big sign put up there. You can't miss it now because we're going to have a bunch of these big Army green vehicles parked out front. So I do have a building up in Vernon that we use just simply because I don't have enough room down here in Kelowna for everything.
One more question. Who gives you orders? Can the mayor?
Oh, I hope the mayor's not watching. That's actually a really good question. So we have what we call a chain of command. And in that chain of command, so for example, Captain Daly, me, my boss is the commanding officer, or sometimes you hear the word CO, right? So he's a colonel. So he's my immediate boss. Now above him is the brigade commander. So you got like captains, and then you got, well, majors, and then you got lieutenant colonels, and then you got full colonels, and then you got generals. You can just see how it goes up from there, right? Cool. All right. Like I said, up to where the magic happens. So every unit will have an orderly room or an ops bubble, we like to call it. So this is ours. So this is our regimental orderly room. I talked about human resource clerks. We have finance clerks. So obviously this is where they work. This is where they input the documents in order for everybody to get paid, or make sure your administration is all cleaned up and tight. So that's the orderly room. Here's the orderly room boss. He gets his own office. Hi, I'm Sergeant Malachi. Well, they might not be able to hear you. Yeah. So, yeah. So this is Sergeant Malachi. So he's another Reg Force non-commissioned member that works here in Kelowna.
Hello.
Cool. More offices. This is my office. This is where I come up with all the plans. This is where I think of neat things for the unit to do. I'm going to show you the classroom. This is one of our classrooms. Up in Vernon, we have another classroom. It's not all fun and games. So what we mean by that is we're not always out marching with rucksacks and carrying rifles. Sometimes we're doing classroom stuff. And you'd be surprised that some of the stuff you learn at school, we have to relearn here and use it in a different application.
A question, what is the highest position in the military?
Well, obviously the Chief of Defense Staff. So sometimes you see these people on the news, right? And you hear, this guy and that general. So the highest rank in the military, now that's the Navy, Air Force, and Army. The highest rank is a general. Now, we have brigadier generals, we have lieutenant generals, you have a major general, and then you have general. So you can see how it all goes up in the ranks. So we actually have 4 different rank levels of general, but only one general.
Okay, another question from Karina. What type of things do you learn that we may learn? Like some of the things they may learn in the classroom that you guys would also be learning here.
You know, that's actually a really good question. So let's talk about camouflage, okay? I'm wearing a camouflage outfit. We also call it relish, like you put on your hot dog. But in the woods, it's a disruptive pattern. Okay, the reason why it's disruptive is because of why things are seen. Believe it or not, there are 11 reasons why things are seen. Shape, shine, shadow, size. There's a whole list of these things. So for some of you in school, when you think about the human eyeball and you're learning maybe in biology or something like that, why we see things, well, we take those and we put that into a military application. How do we disrupt how things are seen? obviously my camouflage pattern in the woods will be the same color as trees and bushes, right? If I was wearing a pink jumpsuit, you know, obviously that would stand out in the woods, right? It's not shiny. Some people with shiny coats and stuff like that will be easier seen. So that's something that you learn in school that we use, or the military has used in its application.
If you want to just walk and ask us questions.
Yeah, okay.
What is the lowest rank in the military?
Well, the lowest rank in the military is an untrained private. So basically that's somebody who's joined and who hasn't done any training yet. Like that person doesn't even know how to stand at attention yet. So that's the lowest rank.
And how long does it take to move up ranks? What's the average time spent at each rank?
Well, it all depends on the courses. If you come in and you can get your courses done right away, basically you're going to be an untrained private for about a year. It takes about a year to get you trained up to a place where I can deploy you, send you overseas, or use you even here domestically, like to fight fires or to fight floods.
And for Miss Axton's class, I missed this one, but how many of the Kelowna contingent has been overseas?
You know what? I got a guy overseas right now. I think he's actually coming back on Wednesday afternoon, and we deployed him to the South Sudan. He was doing a UN mission over in Africa, which is actually really kind of cool, right? Wearing the blue beret, UN in Africa. So, this is the tactical armored patrol vehicle. You have all probably seen it driving around town. If you haven't seen it yet, you will. You guys get to see it before a lot of other people kind of up close. Maybe your parents have seen it on the news. We talked about, the question came about armor before and about steel. Yeah, that's steel. That's 20 tons of steel. So, really cool vehicle. And maybe what's kind of cool is that we're also going to have a competition. This is what the BCDs are going to do for everybody. So all you students get to hear it maybe first is that we want to take somebody for a ride in the Tap B. So all you got to do is when you see this thing driving around town, take a picture of it and then post that picture with the hashtag I'm with the BCD. We'll pick the best picture or the most likes and we'll take you for a ride. I'm going to invite Josh in. This is Sergeant Tustin. He's my unit recruiter. A lot of times when you phone, if people have questions, they don't get to come and talk to me directly. Sometimes he's my first man on the ground. He's kind of like, he takes care of the business of answering phones for me sometimes and people with questions. But he's also my unit recruiter. So if there's any questions about different trades or jobs, he's the guy that knows everything about it.
So I'm just going to touch quickly down on this. Okay. First thing is we're going to talk about age. So as long as you're between 16 years of age and 58, you can apply. Okay. If you are 16, you have to be in school full time. So don't even think about getting out. Stay in school. Okay. Also, you need to have your Canadian citizenship. And you have to have your grade 10 or at least 6 grade 10 courses completed. And then you can apply. Okay, and you're going to apply at www.forces.ca, and you can apply right there. Also, right now, we are offering summer's employment guaranteed for the first 4 years. So it doesn't mean you have to take it, but that opportunity is there. It's better than doing something else, you know, and you get to serve the military. It's actually a great opportunity. Okay, different kind of trades we have. We have an armored crewman. We have an ASIS, which is a signaler, okay? We have 2 different kinds of clerks. We have FSA, which is a finance clerk. We also have a human resources clerk. For an officer, we have armored officer, signals officer, and a logistics officer.
Now, if you wanted to go officer, you have to be currently enrolled in university towards a bachelor degree, working towards one, or you have to already have that bachelor's degree. So to the teachers out there, you can actually join if you wanted to as an officer. Okay, that's all the stuff I have. If you have any questions at all, feel free to call my phone number.
So Josh, we've got a few questions
Excellent.
From some of our students
Okay.
from our classes. How long does the application process take until you're kind of accepted normally?
Okay, so it can really change. On average, I would say about 3 months. The fastest I've done it is 1 month. It really depends on different background, different kind of things can really slow it down. Okay, travel, medical reasons. It could be a lot of different reasons that could slow it down. I still encourage you, even if you have it in the back of your mind, I'm thinking about it, but I don't want to do it yet, or what about if this is going to slow me down or stop me? Just apply, and we'll figure it out. Okay, another question?
Why did you yourself get into the military?
Good question, actually. I joined. It was something to do. It was a part-time job. I joined when I was 17. I actually joined with two of my best friends, and they're actually both police officers right now. And I enjoyed it. I joined. My older brother was in. My father was in. It wasn't a family tradition, but it was something better than other part-time jobs out there, especially for a 17-year-old. This definitely pads your resume for the future.
Okay, what skills do they look for when reviewing an application?
Okay, skills. Depending on what level you're sitting at. A lot of the stuff we're looking at is just your schooling. Make sure that you have your grade 10 or university degree, or be working towards that. Otherwise, we do have a fitness test. We do have an aptitude test. So a couple things to really think about. We do security checks, and we also do background checks. Okay, the more active you are in the community, the more you're doing, the better it looks. Okay, it's not going to stop you if you don't do any of that stuff. I'm just telling you, if you want to be the best out there, best applicant, you want to be active and out there. Okay, sports, all that good stuff.
From Ms. Atkinson's class, how much does a new recruit get paid?
Okay, everything is online, okay, and these numbers are constantly changing. A year down the way, we might be able to get a bit more. You'll be earning anywhere from $85 to $90 a day. We are paid by half day or full day. So anything under 6 hours is a half day. Anything over is a full day. Okay, so a weekend, you'd get a half day for Friday, a full day for Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so let's say if you go away for the summer, let's say 1 or 2 months, you go away, you're going to be making a lot of money. Also with that, when you go away, you're not paying for food, you're not paying for rent, you're not paying for any of that stuff. So that money that you're making is going right into your pocket. Okay, any more?
One more question from Aaron. Will the Dragoons pay for training in other areas like trades or becoming a paramedic, etc.?
Okay, they don't pay for that, but what we do have is we do have a program with universities and stuff. And what we do is we pay for your education now. So how that works, I'm not saying that we pay for all of it because this is a part-time job. So we only pay part of your education. If you're working towards a degree, and as long as you're in good standing in the unit and you're at fully functional trade, so you have all your trades training, then we'll pay $2,000 for each year for 4 years. So that's a total of $8,000 in your pocket. Okay, so we'll reimburse you towards your university.
Okay, one last one.
Yep.
What are the hours like for summer programs?
Okay, so the hours, okay, when you go away for the summer, it's going to be the whole time. You could be working at night, you could be working during the day. If you go away, when I say full-time during the summer, it could be full-time, okay? It'll be on a contract. It'll say, 1st of June to end of August, and you'll be working straight. Now, don't get me wrong, you'll still get days off like weekends, okay? But you might not get every weekend off, okay? But you'll have time off to relax. But it is a hard job, and that's why it's very respected by employers. Okay, any more?
That's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Walk around the TAP V, go check out this Tactical Armor Patrol vehicle.
Right.
Like, I think if it's raining, I could probably sit in the wheel well and keep dry, right?
Yeah. Just like,
Those tires are run flats. Somebody always asks
all I
like,
do
the
is I
question,
talk
how
with
do you
my
get, once you
hands.
get a flat tire? What I mean by run flat is there's a solid rubber core in there. So even if it does get flat, you can still drive on the thing, right?
okay. Yep.
Obviously, we have some clearance here. That's for mine protection.
Anywhere in Canada.
On the modern battlefield, you're often driving over things that explode. So the higher up off the ground you are, the better. I talked about the steel, so obviously, you know, small arms fire, machine guns and stuff like that are not going to hurt us inside. Armored glass, same thing. You can shoot at the windows all day long and it's not going to hurt us. It actually has a camera up above the window as well. So even once the window does get shot up or muddied or whatever, or we still have a thermal camera up there so the driver can drive with the thermal camera. Cool.
I think we're almost out of time. I just want to thank you very much, Captain Daly, for being with us today and giving us the tour. It was fantastic. Okay, really appreciate it. On behalf of School District 23, just want to thank you for doing this for us, and hopefully everybody enjoyed it. We had a couple last questions. Where do you go away to when you train? And Sergeant Tussin said it could be anywhere almost across Canada. Okay, various locations. So just to answer that one. But once again, thanks very much. And signing off for today. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, guys.